On a quiet, dusty street in a small town, a lonely German shepherd wandered aimlessly. His once proud fur was now matted and dull, clinging to his thin, emaciated frame. Every rib was visible, a heartbreaking sign of how long he had been without a proper meal. His paws were cracked and sore from walking on rough roads, and small scars dotted his body, each telling a silent story of neglect and hardship. The dog moved cautiously, his eyes scanning the ground for scraps of food. His stomach growled loudly, but there was no one to hear his silent plea for help. Occasionally, he would approach a passerby, wagging his tail in hope, but they either ignored him or shooed him away. Despite the rejection, the shepherd didn't stop trying. Deep inside, he clung to a faint glimmer of hope that someone might care. He found temporary shelter under an old bench near the edge of the street. The sun had set, and the chill of the night crept in. The dog curled up tightly, trying to keep himself warm. Memories of a time when he was loved, when he had a home, a family, flashed faintly in his mind. But those days felt like a distant dream now. He was just a forgotten soul, blending into the background of a busy world. The next morning, hunger forced him to move again. He stepped onto a busy road, his body weak and trembling. Cars zoomed past him, their horns blaring, but the dog didn't flinch. He had faced worse dangers in his life. As he hesitated in the middle of the road, searching for a way to cross, the roar of an approaching engine filled the air. He turned his head just in time to see a speeding car heading straight toward him. It was a moment of terror, but he was too weak to move. And in that split second, his world changed forever. The sun was shining brightly, and the busy road was filled with honking cars and rushing people. The German shepherd, weak and tired, stood at the edge of the road, nervously watching the speeding vehicles. He had never felt safe crossing such a busy street, but hunger and desperation pushed him to take the risk. With his thin legs trembling, he stepped forward, pausing every few steps to glance around, trying to find the right moment to cross. As the dog moved hesitantly, a loud roar of an engine echoed in the distance. A shiny black car sped down the road, swerving slightly from side to side. Inside the car, two drunk men laughed loudly, their voices blending with the thumping music blasting from the speakers. Empty beer bottles rolled around on the floor of the car as the men joked and pointed at the people on the road. The German shepherd was halfway across when the speeding car came into view. He froze in fear, his legs too weak to move quickly. The driver saw the dog but made no attempt to slow down. Instead, the men laughed harder, as if the dog's helpless state was a joke. The car raced forward, and with a sickening thud, it hit the German shepherd. The dog yelped in pain, his body tossed onto the hard pavement. The car didn't stop. The men inside looked back briefly, still laughing, before speeding away, leaving the injured dog behind. Their laughter faded into the distance as they disappeared down the road, their reckless behavior leaving devastation in their wake. The German shepherd lay motionless on the road, his breathing shallow and uneven. Blood trickled from a deep wound on his head, staining his matted fur. One of his eyes was swollen shut, and he whimpered softly, the sound barely audible over the noise of passing cars. People walked by, some glancing at the injured dog but continuing on their way as if he didn't exist. The dog's body shivered in pain, his world growing darker with every passing second. He was alone, helpless, and broken, lying on the cold, unforgiving pavement. For the first time in his life, the faint hope he clung to began to fade. The busy road slowly returned to normal after the accident, but one man couldn't ignore what had just happened. Liam, a kind-hearted man in his early 30s, had been walking to his car when he saw the speeding car hit the German shepherd. His heart sank as he watched the poor dog collapse onto the pavement, motionless and bleeding. While others walked by, pretending not to notice, Liam knew he couldn't do the same. Without hesitation, he ran toward the injured dog. Cars honked as he carefully stepped onto the road, but he didn't care. As he knelt beside the German shepherd, he could see the extent of the injuries. Blood stained the pavement, and the dog's breathing was shallow. One of its eyes was swollen shut, and there was a deep gash on its head. Liam gently placed a hand on the dog's side, feeling the weak rise and fall of its chest. "Hang in there, buddy," he whispered softly. He quickly took off his jacket and wrapped it around the dog, lifting it with care. The dog whimpered in pain, but Liam spoke to it in a calming voice, trying to reassure the frightened animal. He carried the dog to his car and drove straight to the nearest veterinary hospital, ignoring the tears welling up in his eyes as he glanced at the injured dog in the passenger seat. At the hospital, the vet immediately took the dog into surgery. Liam waited anxiously in the small waiting room, pacing back and forth. After what felt like hours, the vet finally came out, her face a mix of sympathy and concern. "The dog has severe head trauma," she explained. "We managed to stabilize him, but the injury to his eyes is permanent. He'll lose his eyesight." Liam felt a pang in his chest at the news. He looked down, thinking of how unfair life had been to the poor dog. Then, without hesitation, he said, "Do whatever it takes. I'll cover the costs." Over the next few days, Liam stayed by the dog's side, visiting the hospital every day. He named the dog Shadow because, despite losing his sight, the dog reminded him of a loyal companion who deserved a second chance. Liam's determination to save Shadow marked the beginning of a bond that would change both their lives forever. When the German shepherd woke up after surgery, the world felt strange and terrifying. Everything was dark. The dog blinked, but no light reached its eyes. Confused and scared, it whimpered softly, unsure of where it was or what had happened. The familiar sounds of a hospital surrounded it, the gentle beeping of machines, the soft murmurs of voices, but none of it made sense to the frightened animal. Liam was sitting nearby when the dog stirred for the first time. He leaned forward, his voice calm and reassuring. "Hey, buddy. You're safe now," he said softly. The dog froze, its ears twitching at the sound of his voice. Liam could see the fear in the animal's movements, but he stayed patient. He didn't rush to touch the dog, knowing it needed time to adjust. The first few days were the hardest. The dog, now blind, struggled to understand its surroundings. Every noise made it flinch, every unfamiliar smell made it uneasy. Liam stayed by its side, speaking in a calm, steady voice. He brought food and water, placing them gently near the dog, and waited patiently as it sniffed cautiously before eating. Slowly, the dog began to realize that Liam meant no harm. Liam decided to name the dog Hope, a name that reflected his belief in the dog's resilience and the new life they were building together. "You're not just a survivor, Hope. You're a fighter," he said one day as he stroked the dog's fur. Hope tilted its head at the sound of his voice, its tail wagging faintly for the first time since the accident. Over the next few weeks, Liam worked tirelessly to help Hope adapt to its blindness. He rearranged his home to make it safe and easy for the dog to navigate. He used soft rugs to mark paths and placed bells on doors to create sound cues. Every step was a challenge, but Liam encouraged Hope with gentle words and treats. As the days passed, Hope began to trust Liam completely. It followed him around the house, using its heightened sense of smell and hearing to stay close. Liam noticed how Hope's tail wagged more often and how its once shaky steps grew more confident. The bond between them deepened with every shared moment. One evening, as they sat together in the backyard, Liam watched Hope sniff the cool evening air, its ears perked up at the sound of chirping crickets. He couldn't help but smile. Despite everything the dog had been through, it had found joy again. Hope leaned against Liam's leg, and he gently scratched behind its ears. "You're not just my dog, Hope," he said softly. "You're family." Hope's journey from a neglected stray to a loved companion was a testament to the power of patience, love, and second chances. Though it had lost its sight, it had gained something far greater, a life filled with trust, safety, and the unwavering bond of a true friend. Bringing Hope home was a big moment for Liam. The once neglected German Shepherd had already been through so much, and Liam wanted to make sure that his home would be a place of comfort and safety for the blind dog. As Liam gently guided Hope inside, he promised himself that he would do everything possible to help the dog feel secure and loved. The first thing Liam did was research how to care for a blind dog. He spent hours reading articles, watching videos, and even speaking to a vet for advice. He learned that consistency and routine were key. Hope would need to rely on its other senses, like hearing and smell, to navigate the world. Liam took this knowledge to heart and started making adjustments to his home. He cleared the floors of clutter, making sure there were no obstacles that could trip Hope. He placed soft rugs in key areas to help Hope understand where it was, using different textures to mark safe zones like the food and water bowls, the bed, and the door to the backyard. Bells were added to the door, so Hope could hear when someone was entering or leaving. Liam even bought toys designed for blind dogs, ones that squeaked or had sense to engage Hope's other senses. At first, Hope was hesitant in its new surroundings. Every step it took was slow and cautious. It bumped into furniture a few times, but Liam was always there to guide it, his voice calm and encouraging. "It's okay, Hope. You're doing great," he would say, rewarding the dog with gentle pets and treats. Slowly but surely, Hope began to trust the environment Liam had created for it. Routine became an essential part of their lives. Liam took Hope for walks every morning and evening, using a short leash to guide the dog and help it feel safe. He spoke to Hope constantly during these walks, describing their surroundings and letting it sniff trees, flowers, and anything else it found interesting. Hope's tail wagged more and more with each outing, a sign of its growing confidence. At home, Liam spent time teaching Hope commands tailored for blind dogs, like stop, step up, and left. Hope proved to be a quick learner, and with every success, its trust in Liam deepened. The dog that had once been neglected and abandoned now walked with a newfound sense of purpose and joy. Months passed, and Hope's transformation was remarkable. The once timid dog that flinched at every sound now greeted Liam with excited barks and wagging tail whenever he came home. Hope's fur, once matted and dull, now shone with health, a reflection of the care and love it received. Its movements were confident, its spirit strong. One evening, as Hope lay curled up at Liam's feet, he looked down at the dog and smiled. "You've come so far, Hope," he said softly. "You're not just surviving, you're thriving." For Hope, this was more than just a new beginning. It was a life filled with love, safety, and the companionship of someone who had truly cared enough to change everything. As the years passed, Hope became an inseparable part of Liam's life. The once neglected and blind German Shepherd had blossomed into a joyful and confident companion. Every day, Hope amazed Liam with its resilience and ability to adapt. Despite losing its sight, the dog found happiness in the simple pleasures of life, a walk in the park, the scent of blooming flowers, or the warmth of Liam's comforting voice. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Liam sat on his porch with Hope lying peacefully at his feet. The gentle evening breeze rustled the trees, and the soft chirping of crickets filled the air. Liam reached down and ran his fingers through Hope's thick, shiny coat. The dog, now healthy and strong, wagged its tail at his touch, leaning into the warmth of his hand. Liam couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come together. When he first saw Hope lying injured on the road, he had felt a deep sadness for the neglected dog. Back then, he never imagined how much this one act of kindness would change his life. Saving Hope had started as a selfless gesture, but it had turned into something much greater. "I thought I was rescuing you," Liam said softly, looking at Hope. "But really, you've rescued me." Through Hope, Liam had learned the true meaning of resilience. Despite losing its eyesight and enduring so much pain, the dog had never given up. Hope's ability to trust again, to adapt to a world without sight, and to find joy in every moment was nothing short of inspiring. It reminded Liam that no matter how dark life seemed, there was always a way forward. Hope had also taught Liam about unconditional love. The bond they shared was built on trust, patience, and care. Hope didn't need flashy toys or fancy things, it only needed kindness and a safe place to call home. In return, the dog gave Liam a love so pure and loyal that it touched his heart in a way nothing else ever had. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Liam smiled. He thought about how a simple decision to help a hurt dog had not only saved Hope's life but had also brought so much joy and purpose to his own. "You've shown me that kindness can change everything," he said, his voice full of gratitude. Hope tilted its head as if understanding Liam's words. It let out a soft bark, wagging its tail happily. Despite its blindness, the dog radiated a sense of peace and contentment, a testament to how far love and care could go. For Liam, the message was clear: even the smallest act of kindness could create ripples of change. Hope's story was proof that with compassion and patience, broken things could be mended, and new beginnings could bloom. It was a lesson he would carry in his heart forever, a reminder of the power of love, resilience, and the beauty of second chances.